So you finally decided you want to start a martial arts gym. Now, your problem is, which gym do I choose from? There's plenty of gyms around my area and I don't know which is good. So you go online and you look at Google reviews and Reddit reviews, but you're still a little unsure. Well, today, don't worry, I got you covered. Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I wanted to make a video on choosing the right martial arts gym for you and your goals. Now, it's very easy for someone, who's practiced martial arts for a little while to, especially if they've moved to a new area or whatever, it's very easy for them to go to a gym and be like, okay, hey, this is a good gym. They have good practices. I like what the culture they have here. However, if you're new, you don't know what's right and what's wrong, right? You don't know if the gym has good practices or bad, or if it has a toxic culture. You have zero clue. So today, I'm going to try to help you guys out and give you some tips and tricks, as well as some red flags that I look for whenever I've looked for a martial arts gym. So, first things first, right? I would start off by going to as many gyms that are as local as possible, right? So that way you can kind of get a gauge of each gym's culture and stuff like that. And also, you might not have the budget for this one gym or this other gym. You don't really vibe or click with the coaches or whatever. So I would start off by just going and visiting to as many gyms as possible. And most gyms nowadays, they have like a 1 or 2 day free trial where you can go and try a class, see how you like it, and I would highly recommend utilizing that. That way, again, you can kind of gauge the culture and stuff like that with the gym. Another tip that I would have is ask the current students questions about the gym, right? So ask them how long they've been training there, things they like about the gym, things they don't like about the gym, right? And kind of get their experiences and see if you like, okay, so maybe they say something and you're like, ooh, I don't really like that. So it's always good to ask the students to see how their experiences are at that gym. Also, talk to the coaches, kind of learn more about them. See if you like their teaching styles, also kind of get a little history of them, right? Like their accolades, how long they've been teaching and training or whatever, fighting, etc. And also, kind of get a gauge on how they teach, right? So, you may not like their teaching style, or there's been countless coaches and stories I've heard where a coach has all these accolades. They have belts and local promotions or even world belts, right? But they're not good at teaching. So they have all this background and accolades, but that just doesn't translate to their classes, or most people don't like the way they train or whatever. Now, another thing that I'd recommend is take a look at the structure of the gym. Take a look at their kids program, take a look how their gym is structured, the schedule and stuff like that, and just see how they schedule the class, right? So if you go, to the gym and you sign up for a free class, and then you kind of are looking around and you notice that things are very chaotic or crazy, and it doesn't seem to be running well, and then you'd be like, okay, well, maybe this gym not be for me. I'd also take a look at the level of respect the students have for the teachers and coaches, because if you're again going to a gym and then you look around and there's a total lack of respect for the teachers or the coaches, then you're like, okay, well, that's another big red flag. And also, if they have the kids program, look at how the kids are respecting the coaches and teachers, and if they seem very solid and very structured, that's a very good sign. Now, I'd also look at it might be difficult to gauge, but I'd look at who the best and the highest level students are that they have. Because you want to be able to be in a gym where you're not the best person there, especially if only you've been started training there like 3 months and then you're already the best person there. That's a problem. Especially if you're learning a martial art, you want to be surrounded by people, that are much better than you and that are, training at a very high level, so that way you can get the best training possible, right? So if you go to an area where everyone's a beginner, that's not inherently a bad thing, but you just want to keep in mind about, the kind of training structure they have. Now, I wanted to go over some red flags. So some big red flags to me are the cleanliness of the gym, right? So if you're looking around and you go to a couple classes and whatnot, and the gym is very dirty, it smells, and don't keep good, cleanliness on the equipment, that is a massive, massive red flag for me, because you don't know these people, especially if it's you're new to the gym. You don't know what they have, because you don't want to get ringworm, or especially like staph infection. Like, that is nasty. So be extra mindful, of the cleanliness of the gym. Like, how often are they cleaning the equipment? Are they cleaning the floors, mats, and pads, in between classes, stuff like that? Because if they're not, big red flag. Another huge red flag for me is no cross training. So if your coaches are very, like, hey, once you go to this gym, you train at this gym, you can't go anywhere else, that's a big red flag for me. And there's a couple reasons behind that. Obviously, you can go see other gyms and be like, hey, don't train here, because they spar a little too hard or whatever. That makes sense. However, if they're just saying, hey, no cross training because you're under me and that's it, that's a big red flag for me, because you should be able to go to different gyms, right? You should be able to go to other gyms and spar with other people and get instruction from other people, so that way you, as a martial artist or a fighter, can get the best and most information out there, right? Because people might do things another way, or one coach might explain something that doesn't really click to you, and then you go to another coach or another gym and they explain the same thing and it clicks in your head, stuff like that. Another red flag is toxic gym culture. So if there is a lot of smack talk, or obviously sometimes martial arts can be competitive, so as long as it's playful jest, that's totally fine. But I made a video about how this little girl in Mexico, or this teenage girl in Mexico, got killed sparring because of brain trauma, right? That is the perfect textbook example of a very toxic culture, right? And you're not there to to get criticized. You're not there to be belittled. You're there to learn, grow, and get healthier, right? Another big red flag for me are constant student injuries. So I was talking to my coach about this yesterday, because we were doing a seminar about hand wrapping for a competition for Muay Thai. And, we were talking to some of the guys from the local fight promotion that are in town. And they're saying that there are certain gyms that are notorious for having their fighters and their students consistently break hands or get injured in training. And that's a big red flag for me. If you're not doing things properly and you're constantly getting injured, again, massive red flag, because you're trying to go to the gym to learn and grow and get better. You're not going to the gym to get beat up and, have all these medical bills, rack up on you, because you might not be able to afford that. Another red flag is watch for extremely big, lengthy contracts. I've heard of gyms where they have these, these massive, however long contracts, where they lock you in, and there's like cancellation fees and all this other stuff and all these other fees that, for whatever, right? To me, that is a big red flag, because it shows that they have problems with retention and they're trying to keep you and lock you in there as long as possible. My gym, for example, is a really good example of, a gym that is very relaxed as far as payments. It's very, month to month, cancel at any time. They have a couple different programs where, you have one program where you can only come in like 3 days a week, or they have the unlimited program where you come to all classes and all seminars and stuff like that. And, it's very relaxed. So you should be definitely looking out for payment plans and stuff like that. Another thing is not really a red flag, but a good indicator of, a gym that also likes to kind of share knowledge and stuff like that, is they have a lot of seminars with other coaches, and they bring in a lot of the guest people. So for example, my gym is the only true or the only just straight Muay Thai gym in my state. So that being said, we're very fortunate and blessed to have many professional Muay Thai fighters and kickboxers come to our gym to do classes and seminars and just give general knowledge and advice, which is a blast. I've met some awesome, amazing, very high level fighters and practitioners doing that. But just things to keep in mind. So hopefully this video helps you guys out. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments. And I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.